thank you for joining me. I'm Jill Bloom, Group Publisher of Roofing Supply Pro, and welcome to our podcast show. It's always an honor to have with me John DeRosa from SRS, who's just the guru when it comes to training on just about everything. John, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. No guru. Just
Yes, I'm going to call you guru. But
okay.
before we got on, it was such a great conversation in regards to what should we talk about today. And I think we've got it nailed. John, let's talk about time management. What does everybody need to know? Where do they start? What are the top things that everybody needs to really think about when it comes to time management?
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes when I do like training events, I'll ask the group to finish this sentence. And the sentence is, I could sell more effectively if I, and then they're supposed to kind of fill in that blank. And there's a lot of people that always want to default to, if I could have 2 more hours in a day, or if I could have 1 more hour in the week. And they really believe that their effectiveness is somewhat determined upon, how much time they have to complete everything they want to complete. But look, I mean, this is not an original thought by me, but the whole idea of time management is a little bit of it's kind of disingenuous because we can't really manage time. The only thing we can manage is ourselves in relation to time. I mean, we can't control how much time we have. We can only control how we use it. And I think really it comes down to, are we making the right decisions and are we executing the things that are critically important to what it is that we want to accomplish? So, I mean, that's kind of
Yeah,
where we tend to focus.
100%. But when you look at those top salespeople, when you look at those people that are mastering, that have mastered their schedule, or they're the top performers in their whether it's in their section of the country or just overall nationally, what do you feel like are the top things that those guys are doing with their schedule?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's interesting, right? Because if you look at those top reps, I mean, every organization out there has got reps that are selling 50, 40, 50, $60 million a year in product. And you have reps out there that are saying, I need more time, but you have just as much time as the guy who's selling $50 million or the gal who's selling $50 million. So I think what I would encourage them to do is to kind of think about their plan, right? You can't really have I mean, you think it's possible to have a time management conversation without first talking about what is it you want to accomplish? I mean, what are your goals?
What are your goals? Yeah, absolutely. And there's no one, yeah, we've talked about that before too. You shared some really cool insight on goal setting. Where do you start? If you've never written something down before, maybe we just talk about that for a hot second. How do you start goal setting?
Well, I think that what I would ask people to think about relative to like managing their time and really making sure that they maximize the time that they have is if you set a goal for yourself, and maybe that's a goal that's assigned to you. I mean, maybe your organization says, Jill, this year I need you to sell $15 million, that you need to grow your sales to 15 million. Most reps will kind of look at that number at the beginning of the year and say, oh, 15 million, I've got 12 months to make that happen. No problem. But the
Hmm.
reality is when I ask those reps, how are you going to make that happen? Where is that money going to come from? They kind of glaze over because they can't really define what it is. So what I always ask reps to do is to think about like who are your key accounts and what are assuming you do all the right things with those customers, what do you project their sales to look like next year, their purchases? Look at your growth accounts, the low-hanging fruit. Maybe these are the people that have the greatest opportunity for growth. If you do the right things with those accounts, you know, what will you project? And then what you're probably going to have when you add those two numbers together is you're going to have a little bit of a gap between what my projection is and what my goal is. And then we would focus on, well, who are your conversion targets? Which new business do you think you want to go out there and secure? Well, now that I've defined where that money is going to come from or how I'm going to, achieve my goal, my budget, I now have to define what are the right things? What are the things that I need to do with those key accounts? What are the things and the products that I need to focus on with those growth accounts? And what does my activities need to look like from a account conversion perspective? I mean, look, we talk about growing sales all the time, and there's really two things that we focus on to grow our sales. Number one is the activities, right? I need to make sure that I am executing and doing all the things that I need to do that put me in the best position to achieve my goal. But here's the problem, and this is where I think people get caught up in that time management conundrum, is they'll say, well, wait a minute, I don't have enough time in my day to execute all the tasks to get to that number. Well, then that second area that we need to focus on is how are we going to improve? So growing sales is about activities and it's about improvement. And once I've maxed out my calendar to the point where I can't get any more stuff done, which I would argue is probably an exaggeration. I think people maybe aren't doing the right things. But then I need to focus on, okay, well, how am I going to improve the results that I get within the activities that I'm executing? If I, and the best example I can give you is like from a conversion rate perspective, if I'm going out and I'm converting 1 out of 10 customers that I'm working with, well, then I can reduce the number of activities that I need to do if I could boost that number up to 2 out of 10. Right?
Sure.
Or so it really comes down to first and foremost, once you set that goal, really map out exactly what it is that you need to do that's going to put you in the best position to achieve that result, and then measure your results of those activities to make sure that you got the skill sets to do those things the right way. You know, and sorry, I'm kind of going off here, but I think that I've always said that the different, the critical time management, right, is the critical difference between people who schedule their priorities and people who prioritize their schedule. And I know we might look at that and go, well, if I'm prioritizing my schedule, isn't that a good thing? And it might be a good thing, but what happens is when you draw that long to-do list in the morning of all the things that you think are your that you need to, that you're trying to prioritize. These are all the tasks that I'm prioritizing. More often than not, the really important stuff that you need to do that's not urgent. And I'm kind of getting into the Stephen Covey stuff now and his 7 habits of highly effective people. But, we have to understand, like, is this task important? Does it contribute to our goal? And is it urgent? I mean, is it something that's requiring my immediate attention? When we're prioritizing our schedule, oftentimes what we're doing is we're taking those non-urgent tasks and we're sort of pushing them down to the bottom of the list because those non-urgent tasks are not calling on us to get it done. We're responding to the stuff that's pressing upon us. So when I talk about scheduling your priorities, it really comes down to taking a long view of my week and saying, what are the top 5 things that I need to accomplish this week that are going to put me in the best position to achieve my goals, and me scheduling those things first. I mean,
Well,
does that sound too pie in the sky?
no, I think it's really like you were saying, if you just when you focus, try to set aside all the distractions and focus on what's going to, what is it? Let's say the goal is revenue, right? So what's going to get me closer to those revenue goals? What activities going to get me closer to those revenue goals? Those are the activities you want to focus on.
Yeah, and I think that some people listening might say, well, wait a minute, John, that's a great idea and all that kind of stuff, but I have a lot of other things that I need to do that are kind of getting in the way of me executing those priorities. And what I would encourage people to really look in the mirror and ask themselves is that an excuse? Right? Like, how much stuff are you doing that you could, in all honesty, delegate to somebody at the branch? And if you don't have the confidence in your people to ask somebody on the inside to kind of take over some of those roles, then I think you might be deceiving yourself in a little bit of a way. I mean, I don't know any organization out there that hires branch people that wake up in the morning and say, how am I going to screw things up for this sales guy? I mean, they all want to do well. And if you have concerns, I would bet, I don't care what organization you work from, your branch manager has a vested interest in helping you execute all the things that are going to help you achieve your goal. So have a conversation and be willing to be coachable, right? Be willing to listen to them tell you that, well, you're not doing the right thing. Because I think sometimes we here's the other thing we do, Jill, and I do this too, right? I'm a almost wish I take my own advice sometimes, but like I'll create a to-do list in the morning of all the stuff that I need to do. And I try to keep the goal stuff and the not urgent stuff in there.
Yeah.
But like I'm the type of person that at the end of the day, I look at my list and all the stuff that I crossed off, and that becomes a metric of what a great day I had. I mean, I'm literally the type of person that, like, I'm so like ADD that if I do a task that's not on my list, I will write it on the list just so I have the joy of watching myself
Crossing it
cross
off.
that off. And I think that when you look at that list at the end of the day, ask yourself, how many of those things are really going to help me achieve what I just defined as my goal with my key accounts, my goal with my growth accounts, and help me convert that business that I need to convert? Because at the end of the day, that's really the stuff that's most important.
Love
And
it.
and I'm not suggesting that family and leisure and all that other stuff isn't important. That we have to try to find a way to balance all that stuff. But I mean, I know that from when I was in the field, I did a lot of stuff that I complained were things that I had to do that probably weren't necessary. And it was because number one, didn't really want to, delegate. And number two, I like to be able to say that, look at all the stuff I did, you know?
Well, still great advice on what to focus on, John, for sure. So it's always great to talk to you. It's great insight. It's great advice, hands down for sure. But if anybody has any questions, if they want to ask you about a topic they want you to cover or anything like that, how's the best way to get a hold of you?
You just email me at jderosa@srsdistribution.com. And I think for those of you who have emailed me, I think I've been pretty quick to get back to all of you. So yeah, anything, let me know what I can do to help.
Fabulous. Well, again, great nuggets, John. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
if anybody has any questions for us, it is actually we've adjusted our website. It's roofingcontractor.com/roofing supply pro. Make sure you sign up for all our free content, sign up for our e-news, and follow us on all our social media channels so you can stay up to date on all the great interviews we're doing, especially the great nuggets from John. And most importantly, stay safe and healthy. And we can't wait to talk to you soon. Thanks again, John.
Thank you.